Hello and welcome to the Transcend and Succeed show. As some of you may know, I'm guest hosting the show for Dawn for the next 2 seasons while she takes a break and she moves. And I'm so excited to be hosting this show, and I hope that you learn and grow with each of my guests. Now today, my very first guest is Beth Lewis. She's a matrescence and family support specialist who is fiercely passionate about mentoring and supporting mothers so they can survive and thrive in life and motherhood. Beth has specialised in mentoring women in her coaching business for many years. However, when she became a mother herself, she realised very quickly why everyone says you are never ready. For the most part, many mums feel mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually broken. And Beth has created a safe and nurturing space to intuitively work with her clients so they can heal, grow, and learn the most powerful tools and techniques so that they can navigate their way through their personal transformation challenges to find their joy, so they can adjust and create their new identity with ease and flow, and that they can also stay present and quieten the noise around them about the kind of mother that they should be. Doing this work creates connected, confidence and courageous mums who can show up differently for themselves and for their family, resulting in more harmonious homes. Beth is fiercely passionate about the work that she does with mothers, as she has seen firsthand that when mothers heal herself, her children or child directly benefit, resulting in calmer and more conscious children. Now, Beth is a qualified life coach, a food and nutrition coach, a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, NLP for those who are familiar, and she's currently studying breath work and psychoneuroimmunology. My goodness, Beth, we have so much to unpack here. But first,
a lot of acronyms in
there. And thank you for being my very first guest. I'm so grateful that you are here.
Thank you, Megan. I'm so grateful to be here. It's an honour.
Great. So let's start with the word that I mentioned earlier, matrescence. Can you tell us what this word means and how it ties into the work that you are doing with mums?
Absolutely, yes. It's really fascinating, actually, because, I always mentored and specialised in nurturing and supportive women after leaving 21 years in the corporate world, and knew that I needed to make a bit of a change for myself, and then became a mother. And I went on this massive journey, the journey that you go on from the moment you find out you are growing a life inside of you and through birth and beyond. Yeah, it's so transformational. We all go through an identity crisis, and on a psychological, spiritual, physiological and social level, you really become a different person. And it's now been given a name, which is actually matrescence. And I absolutely love that, because it's being so much more recognised that women go through such a transformational journey. So, yeah, that's where the term comes from.
And is the word, is it something that you'd find in the dictionary, or is it just a new word that's been created? Do you know how the word actually originated?
It's been around for a little while now, but it's still, a lot of people still haven't heard it. So it is, still quite new in terms of people actually using the word. And I think, it's beautiful that obviously there's a show like this available. There's so many podcasts. There's so many people talking and speaking up, not just for mothers, but obviously mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health in general. So I feel like it's just in alignment with all of that. Divine timing, perfect timing. So a lot more people are becoming conscious about journeys in different forms of wellness with all of these areas. So, yeah, it's definitely becoming a little bit more well-known, but a lot of people still go, what is that? What does that mean?
Yes.
Another word I have to learn.
And so this is an obvious question, I suppose, but how and why did you become a mentor for mums? What drove you for that purpose?
Oh, great question. It's, As I mentioned before, I specialised when I left the corporate industry. I was always very drawn to mentoring and nurturing and supporting women because I've had such a massive journey myself, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually on every single level. I've been through endometriosis, I've lived with chronic pain, I've been through abusive relationships, trauma, all the things, right? Health issues. And that's why I was so passionate about food and nutrition and really getting to a point of, not suffering, I suppose, is a perfect way to say it. And women in general, so many women that I started talking to and sharing my journey and my struggles with, every single woman. Every woman. I was really surprised. It wasn't every second woman. It wasn't every 10th woman. It was every single woman. Once I opened up and started sharing, they started sharing, oh my goodness, I'm so tired and fatigued all the time. I feel anxious and overwhelmed. I'm stressed. I've got digestive issues. I've got this, I've got that. So that kind of, spurred me on to really want to nurture and support women. And then when I became pregnant with my little manifested miracle, I call him, he stepped up on me and said, hi, I'm choosing you to be my mum, and it's happening now. And it was the best surprise ever. It was actually when I had my beautiful little boy. I'd been an auntie since I was 10 years old. I've been very involved in my four nephews and my beautiful niece and helping my sisters since I was 10. I actually kind of thought I knew what to expect in some way or another because I did have a lot of very close experience, and motherhood hit me like an absolute freight train.
Wow.
Absolute freight train. Plus, my son was only 6 weeks old when COVID hit as well. So it was the isolation, the lockdowns and all the things. But, already being a coach, already having all of these tools with being able to regulate my emotions, support my body with the right supplementation, the herbs, the nutrition, the meditation, the mindfulness, all of that. I had a toolkit full of literally countless things that I could do for myself to make myself feel better. But literally nothing can prepare you for motherhood. Because the sleep deprivation, all the things, it changes your relationship, all your relationships. It's why most relationships, it's 1 in 2. Many relationships, marriages, they end within the first couple of years after having a baby.
Wow, so really?
Actually, yeah, it's the most intense time. Everyone's exhausted because, from a sleep perspective, without the baby, without even having a baby, you need as an adult 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep. I say this to mothers and they all just go, yeah, right. God, I'd be happy with 2 good hours some nights, especially in the first couple of years. It's so intense. So, yeah, with all of that on top of realising that, wow, I now have to do everything I was doing in my life, manage the house, be a good partner, get my career going, like all of the things on top of raising this tiny little human who relies on you 24/7. You have this massive wave of, oh my God, that's so intense. So yeah, I really had this big epiphany when I was going through it all, just like, wow, there's actually not enough people out there talking about this. There's not enough support for mums. So yeah, that was one of the main reasons why I decided to do it, because most of my clients, I find, I'm sure any sort of coach, mentor, therapist out there, when I say this, they'll go, oh yeah, you tend to attract your mirrors as well. So I found all of a sudden in my coaching business after I had my son, I started attracting all of these tired, exhausted, overwhelmed, overworked mums going, I have no idea who the hell I am anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I've lost myself. I'm stressed. I just can't, basically. So yeah, that sort of drove me down that path.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because until we experience something ourselves, we can have some type of idea or a bit of an understanding of what people are going through. But until you experience it, then you're living it and you have your own personal perspective, I guess, and perception on what it really means.
Absolutely. Yeah, perception is everything, isn't it? It's crazy. We can go through exactly the same thing, the same thing. as somebody, right? And we all react differently, because this is where, for those of you out there who are watching or listening to this around, you mentioned NLP before, so neuro-linguistic programming. So neuro being the mind, linguistic language, and programming being our internal programming. So every experience we have in our life is literally a personal, bespoke experience based on our upbringing, our childhood, our filters, how we view the world, our belief systems, our values. So, yeah, every single person has a different experience. But one thing I found with mothers, there were three main things that were so common. And generally it really is the whole, I have no idea who the hell I am anymore.
Right.
I just don't feel that connection to myself. I don't feel that connection to my partner. Ridiculously overwhelmed. Women in general, we can be a bit tough on ourselves, right? With being perfectionists and control freaks, and we like everything in order, and we can't sit down until it's all done. And, we're the nesters and the homemakers naturally, right? We want to make everything look good, feel good, and we want to nest when we're in our feminine, right? So, yeah, the overwhelm of all of that on top of trying to be a good mother, a conscious mother, is incredibly stressful and overwhelming, because we don't have an autonomic response in our body to relax, but we do to jump straight into fight or flight, because we have to have that. So we actually have to learn to relax and practice mindfulness and learn how to breathe and regulate our nervous system. So when we're not doing that, which is what most of us never really learn, we just get to a crisis point, right, where we're basically having a nervous breakdown and we can't digest anything, and our relationships are falling apart and all the things. And our children feel our energy. So that's definitely one thing I've noticed in common with all of my clients as they start doing the work on themselves. And anyone out there, whether you're a parent or not a parent, would know this, right? When you start actually self-caring, nurturing, regulating your immune system, putting beautiful things in your body to support your system on every level, things, people, situations, opportunities, everything starts to shift around you. So especially for our little generations coming through, that's a beautiful gift for our families and our little kids. I know my son, he is a different child when mummy's conscious and present and calm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And is there something that you can share with us that maybe is a 2 or 3 minute tool that you could share with the audience of, maybe a little cheat sheet or something that is it maybe a breath piece, or is it something that you could do as an affirmation just to help people who are listening today?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, how long have we got? There's so many. I think there's two probably really, really powerful things that I tell my clients, and this is actually really good for everybody. So one of the first ones is actually pay attention to your language. So your language, internal and external language, it is so powerful. It is so, so powerful. And this is where NLP is so powerful. When we're using a lot of, I'm not really a huge fan of the words positive and negative, because that's, once again, perception as well, right? My positive could be somebody else's equal and opposite negative, right? So I like to sort of say empowering or disempowering. Okay. Especially for mums and women, because when we're exhausted, and most women that I've worked with and that I know, we all have some kind of self-image, self-worth, body issue. We can all relate to this. Every woman I know has been through or struggles with this kind of thing. So really making an effort to pay very close attention to how you speak to yourself and how you speak about yourself, so internally and externally. So when you're moving through life, even just on a daily basis, pay attention. If you notice that you're the kind of person that says things like, oh, why is everything so hard? Oh, I look so fat in this. Oh, I just can't do this. Really just pay attention. Is it all sort of super negative? Like, life's just really crap at the moment. We can go into those spirals. And I'm not saying that things aren't hard, But when we pay all of our attention to what isn't going right, instead of sitting up first thing in the morning and putting our hand on our heart and saying, I'm grateful that I can get myself out of bed. It can even just be as simple as that. I'm doing my best. I'm a work in progress. And you can literally just start there. And if you just start really small, it's amazing how that can be a big mindset shift, because it's all mindset, right? My nan used to say, it was really beautiful. It's so simple but so profound. My nana always used to say to me, darling, we get 2 blessings in life. 1, you get up, and 2, you get out of bed. The rest is icing.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
I know, isn't it gorgeous? And that really stuck with me my whole life, because she'd always say it to me if ever I was having, one of those moments like, oh, someone's bullying me at work, or, oh, I can't lose these kilos, or my body's not feeling right, or, this guy just broke my heart, or, whatever, all the life things that we go through. So I come back to that a lot. I actually find that really positive, because there are people out there who can't wake up, open their eyes, see what's going on around them and get themselves out of bed. So there's always something to be grateful for. So finding even the smallest beauty, huge game changer. But one little technique that I really do teach people is definitely tapping into the breath and grounding themselves into presence. So it all starts with awareness. So awareness of language, awareness of triggers. So just start noticing, especially, and we can all relate to this, it's always on a day that mummy's in a rush, or we've got to be somewhere on time, or we've promised someone something that the kids are going to be like literally moving like they're attached to the ground, or, something like that. Just all the little things, right? So no matter what it is, it could be your partner, it could be someone at work, it could be road rage, anything. Grounding yourself into presence is huge. So as soon as you feel yourself starting to feel whatever the big emotion is, so we get angry, we get agitated, we get sad, whatever it is, if you can start to pay attention to that and catch yourself, just do a little, shift of the movement, change your physiology. Tony Robbins preaches this all the time, and it's honestly a game changer. Shift your physiology, because it's remembering that emotions are energy in motion. That's a really good point for people to remember. So we might feel angry or joyful. Both of those emotions are just energy moving through our body, right? So if you shift your energy, even if it's like a neck roll, whatever it is, and take a deep breath, so beautiful big deep breath, let it out, and then think of something that you're grateful for in that moment.
Beautiful.
And it's really amazing. I do that with my son a lot, actually, and that's a beautiful gift for a parent to teach their children too. I'll actually even say to my son sometimes, if he's really, boundary pushing mode, which absolutely happens, I'll actually say to him sometimes, if I can feel myself about to really snap at him, I'll say, sweetheart, mummy's body's feeling a bit stressed. My body's telling me I need to take some deep breaths. Would you like to do that with me? And it is incredible. It's actually coming out in him now instead of him, and he's only 4.5, so still learning, unable to regulate his own emotions, right? So for me, being able to do that in front of him, we were playing the other night and he accidentally knocked over half of his tower that we were building, and it was close to bedtime, and I took a deep breath thinking, okay, it's game time, he's going to lose it. So I need to take a deep breath and get ready for the meltdown. And he actually stopped for a second and went, it's okay, mummy. My mantra today was I'll never give up. Yeah, we choose a mantra every morning. I choose my angel card, chooses his mantra. And he said, my mantra today was I'll never give up, so we can build an even better tower. And that blew my mind. And don't get me wrong, for those of you out there who are going, yeah, nice, like that's great, but come on, like there's days where you're exhausted. I lose it sometimes. Like we're all human. You're not always going to get it right. But the more you practice this stuff and the more you make it rituals for you, it's just autopilot. That becomes your autopilot instead of going, rah, like that volcano.
Yeah, beautiful. So let's take a breath ourselves now, and we will have a couple of minutes of a couple of ads, and then we'll come back. Beautiful. Welcome back, everybody. And we're here with Beth Lewis, and she's talking to us about the help that she gives to mums. And so, Beth, I wanted to ask you, are you able to give us an example of a breakthrough from one of your clients, maybe a mum that has been really struggling, and how you helped her and what type of breakthroughs that she had?
Definitely. Oh, there's so many juicy ones. Actually, yeah, one that's really coming to mind, and this actually kind of even relates to your last question about, any tools or techniques. One of my favorite sayings is, don't commit to me, commit to evolving, and I'll meet you there. And yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's a good one, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful.
Commit to evolving, and I'll meet you there. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a game changer. So beautiful. So in relation to that, one of my beautiful clients who has a gorgeous husband, they've been together for quite a few years. They've got 2 children now. At the time they had 1 child, and she worked for herself, and she is quite a health conscious, beautiful, spiritual, gorgeous woman who, just like I was saying, so many mums really sort of lost her way after becoming a mum, and was feeling a bit sort of, who am I? I'm exhausted, etc., but also quite disconnected from her partner, which is so normal. And he had actually been through quite a lot personally. He'd been through some trauma himself, and a few other bits and pieces. We all have our own stuff, right? And she was finding it quite difficult to support him and also to find herself. And we had our first couple of sessions, and she was saying, he's just really frustrating me because I really want to get healthy again and get back into, getting my routine together and finding myself. And, he's drinking too much and wanting to order Uber Eats because he's a bit depressed at the moment. And then I end up just joining him in that, and I know that's bad for me. And, so you just end up in this cycle and this pattern of being frustrated with one another. Mm-hmm. And she was getting really frustrated with him, and it was causing a lot of issues. And I just said to her, what would it look like if we just went all in on you and you left him alone? What would that look like? And she was quite confronted by it at first, and she was like, oh, I didn't really think about it that way. But okay. Yep, I get your point. What does that mean? And how do I leave him alone? Because, I'm with him every day, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, doesn't mean that you're obviously not going to speak to him, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to get triggered by what he's doing, because we're human, but it's recognizing that it's all a journey, and the only things that we can control is our response to what's going on around us. And, it's like that term when somebody said, it's like we can experience pain, but we choose to suffer.
Yep.
And what I was saying at the beginning, it's like, when we're putting all of our energy into what's not working, that grows. It's like watering a plant. So I just said to her, right, we need to organise for you some self-care. Let's look at what your biggest challenges are personally right now that have nothing to do with him. Mm-hmm. How are you talking about yourself? How are you feeling about yourself? Where are you struggling? And we ended up doing 3 sort of really beautiful, powerful sessions with getting her super clear on what she wanted, how she wanted to, what she could do to make herself feel better. And she realised, wow, okay, so I'm joining him and having the glass of wine at night when I don't really want it, and eating the Uber Eats when I don't really want it. And she transformed from that to, okay, I'm actually going to cook a healthy dinner tonight, or I'm going to order some of the, there's so many options these days. We're so lucky. We can order beautiful, healthy, nutritious meals to be delivered if we want them, but that's a choice. So everything's a choice. So once again, it was just a mindset shift for her. And I actually said to her in the beginning, you do this for yourself, give it a little bit of time and see what happens with his energy. She came back, it was about 3 or 4 weeks later for another session, and she just said, you're not going to believe this. He's actually started shifting his habits, and actually came to me the other day and said, I think I want to talk to someone. I'm really sick of doing this. I'm sick of being in a slump. I want to talk to someone. And he started working on himself as well. And they've gone on to have a beautiful second child, and happier than ever, because they both realised we just need to focus on ourselves. And when we grow, it encourages people around us to grow. And look, that doesn't always happen. We can't control what other people do, right? But that's a really beautiful example of just go all in on you. You're not responsible for other people, and you're not responsible for other people making you happy and making you feel fulfilled. You can find that. So, yeah, she was just a beautiful soul, and it was so beautiful to see her have that breakthrough.
That's amazing. And the courage that it would have taken her to do that, because sometimes we feel, I know myself, that if I want to make a change, I'm usually wanting to have a partner in crime with me to, so if I want to make a change here at home, I'm always hoping that it's a change that my husband wants as well. But when it's not something that he wants, then it's about having the courage to say, okay, well, this is now just for me. And I'm going to do it just for me.
Absolutely. And how hard is that for so many women, right? So many of my clients, one of the biggest things that they struggle with is being a people pleaser as well. Mm-hmm. So I love that you just used the word courage. And this goes back to generational stuff as well, right? Like, we carry so much in our bodies, and so much also is belief systems. Like, gosh, in my journey, there's been so many times where I've said something and consistently said something like it's my belief. And then as I've started working on myself and the deeper I've gone on my spiritual journey, all of a sudden I've gone, hang on a minute, that's not even my belief. That's something my mum told me, or that's something my nan told me, or like I can actually choose if that aligns with me or not. And one of the biggest things really is, how men and women in a relationship, what our roles are meant to be, what we should or shouldn't be doing. And, I say to everyone, your relationship can look however you feel it should for you. And that's up to you and your partner to work through together. And how beautiful if your partner does say, oh, yeah, I want to do exactly the same thing. That sounds amazing. But, it really is a beautiful thing if you can just know. I always say to people, follow the feeling. If you feel something, when you get that beautiful, you might be with a girlfriend or something, or even by yourself, and you'll get this idea or this feeling. It's like a perfect glass of champagne, bubbling up from the bottom, and you just go, oh my God, how good would that be? That'd be amazing. Or I would be so good at that. Or I would love to go to that dance class. Or I'd love to leave my corporate job and do X, Y, Z. and then the noise comes in. Get
Yes.
so excited about something and then the noise comes in, and I really want everyone to start recognizing that that is just your stuff. That's not real. When you get
Yes.
those beautiful, big, bubbly feelings of, wow, I so feel to do this, and then you start talking yourself out of it, or you do go home and perhaps tell your partner and they say, oh, really, babe? Oh, okay. And they're not enthusiastic. So your people pleaser or your self-doubts come in and you go, oh, yeah, I suppose I can't, or we can't really afford it, or, there's always a way.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
feel aligned to do something, get the right mentor, clear the stuff. There is always a way,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, because I find that sometimes, what really resonates with us, particularly in those moments, doesn't necessarily resonate with other people. So I have found myself that I've had these ideas, and not necessarily my husband, but I've talked to friends, and they've kind of or they've kind of poo-pooed the idea, or they're a bit flat about it, and then so you start to doubt it and doubt yourself. So what I have found is that when I get an opportunity or I think of something new, I actually sit with it, and I might talk to someone who I know maybe has had the experience in that before, because then they're obviously naturally going to be a supporter of you, give you more information and ideas before I then start talking to other people. Because I have found that myself, that I've been, I guess my ideas and dreams have been stifled because I've listened to too many people.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was married when I was 27, and with my ex-husband, and that was when I was in the corporate world and doing all the things. And I've
Yeah.
always been quite spiritual. My mum's a yoga teacher, so I've been raised by a yoga teacher, and because I was just naturally really good at what I did in the corporate world, got into sales and marketing, and I'm quite creative. So, I did thrive in the corporate world, but I always felt like there was something missing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting down with my husband at the time. We ended up getting divorced when I was about 33. And that was, 10 years ago now. Not who's counting, only a number. But yeah, I remember sitting down with him so many times, and I had all these spreadsheets because I'm a bit of a OCD planner. We all get the spreadsheets out. It's like, right, how can I do this? I really want to do something different. Should I be a yoga teacher? Should I look into becoming a psychologist? I always knew I was driven to help people or heal people or support people or coach people, because even in the corporate world, I was always driven to roles where it was about relationships or mentoring people, or, the new people coming in, and et cetera, right? So I knew that that's what felt right for me, but I didn't recognize or realize at the time that that wasn't actually in that world. And I'd sit down with him and say, this is my skill set. This is what I'm thinking. Maybe if I dropped back to 4 days and went and studied, et cetera, et cetera. And what I used to get from him was, well, you just do what you want. Like, I don't really understand your world. I don't understand this stuff. And I never did anything when I was married to him, because all my stuff came up and it was like, well, he doesn't believe in me.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't believe in me, and it's too hard. And, that was in my 20s when I had all of these quite debilitating health issues with sleep deprivation. So I had chronic insomnia, chronic pain, really intense digestive issues, and ended up going on a huge mission and finally finding out that I did have endometriosis.
Right.
And because I'd taken so many painkillers and, really trying to just make myself feel better, I was such a victim to my circumstances. It was so debilitating, being in pain all the time. And also on that journey, a lot of people, because I was, young and vibrant and always quite, a positive person when I was around people, because I was always too scared to actually let people know that I was struggling.
Yeah.
People didn't know that I was struggling. So you'd actually get a lot of people going, well, why can't you come to that? Or what are you doing? And, so yeah, the breaking through, it was actually when my marriage ended that I looked at my life and said, right, what do I want and how can I have it?
Right.
And started going on a massive journey of healing myself. And here I am. So, it's so that in your life right now, you could be absolutely feeling completely, totally broken, there is a way out. There's always a way. And I just love so much that there are so many people out there, you know, like yourself and like so many amazing people that are so committed to healing others now. So it's, you know, fiercely get on that path of finding your right mentors, like you, exactly what you were saying before. It's, you know, those 5 people that you spend most of your time with, have a look at those people. You know, if you're really wanting to change your life, or you're feeling, you know, really stuck or broken or sad, or, you know, you don't know what you want to do, whether it's career, health, emotions, whatever it is, really have a look around and see who you're spending most of your time with. And if those people aren't vibrating higher than you, at least on the same level or higher, do something about that. Yeah. Because it's incredible that energy sharing when you're around people who lift you up. And that can just be the start of your journey, just making a new friend, right? That's a little bit higher than where you want to be.
Absolutely. It's about finding that courage, isn't it, to take a leap, I suppose, a leap of faith.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned, or we mentioned, I mentioned in the things that you're doing, is that you are currently studying, although I think you've just finished it, haven't you? So psychoneuroimmunology. Is that just one word? Is it one?
Yes.
One?
Yeah. Or PNI. A bit easier.
Can you tell us about PNI and explain it to us, and what led you to study it?
Yeah, absolutely. I am so obsessed with this. It is absolutely amazing. So I'm sure, and I hope that a lot of people out there watching this have heard of the late great Louise Hay. She she has helped me and healed me in so many ways. Honestly, so beautiful. I've done her mirror work, all the affirmations, read all her books, like incredible. And she was actually such a pioneer for this type of work. Absolutely incredible. So psychoneuroimmunology, or PNI, is incredible because what it really teaches you is it's actually science-based, evidence-based around how our our endocrine system, nervous system, and immune system all communicate, and how that works. So if we, for example, say, there's people who have been cured from cancer, they're miracles, you know, how there's people in that industry, the mind-body connection, there's a lot of talk about the mind-body connection, and a lot of people think that's really woo-woo. Psychoneuroimmunology proves that it's not. It's not woo-woo. It's evidence-based. It's backed by science. There are tons of papers and research and studies on how all our cells actually communicate and the pathways between all of these systems. And one of the biggest causes of so many illnesses, chronic pain, and all of those, stress.
Wow.
Stress, chronic stress. So I mentioned at the beginning, you know, our body doesn't have an autonomic response to relax. And this is based on the studies that I've been doing with PNI. And that's actually something that has really been quite heartwarming to learn, because how many people do you speak to that are so in overdrive? Like, they're literally, I mean, you literally speak to every second person. Most people I know that come to see me are in crisis, and they're stressed. That stress level is chronic. It's chronic stress. They're not little stresses, because we're so used to living in fight or flight. Everybody's stressed financially. So many people, you know, getting sick because they're so stressed. I used to always say, it's funny, isn't it, when you start studying and really learning something, I used to always say intuitively, never underestimate the power of stress, because it's like I knew just intuitively. I said it since I was about a teenager, you know, in my early teens I'd even say this. So when I started actually studying this and learning, wow, there are so many different studies and so much research behind this. It was only a couple of thousand years ago that the mind and the body were actually separated when it comes to medicine. So Eastern and Western medicine.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really, really fascinating. So for people that really, they start hearing about the mind-body connection, or that's all that woo-woo stuff, it's actually not woo-woo, and the correct term really is mind-body, because they're not separate. So we shouldn't be talking about the mind and the body being separate. And a perfect example of this is actually myself. I mentioned just before, through my 20s, I was in severe chronic pain. I became incredibly depressed. I was very, very anxious, felt really sick all the time, couldn't sleep. It was quite traumatic, and it did really, really make my life quite challenging. For a young woman in her 20s who really loved being social and loved her friends and all the things, I was quite sad a lot, because friends had booked to go somewhere and I couldn't sit in that restaurant because the chairs were too uncomfortable for my back. I'd actually be physically in pain going to that place, or, things like that. But also because I was so broken, and, I had a lot of other unconscious patterns that I had to untangle with doing some deep work as well, with body image and, the perfectionism things. And so I would literally have meltdowns, not wanting to leave the house if I didn't feel good enough, or I didn't look good enough, or, I had a little bit of pain, because I was giving it so much anxiety. I actually had no idea at the time how stuck in suffering I was. I just felt dropped to my knees. And I'm sharing this with so many people because I truly believe in turning your wounds into wisdom, which is why I'm so passionate about this now. And that's why I'm constantly and consistently studying and adding more and more tools and techniques to my business, so I can help people and reassure people that, yes, like I still have bulging discs in my lower back. I still, I've had 2 surgeries for endometriosis, and, I'm a single mum. It can be so exhausting. I've been through, a traumatic abusive relationship, and I've gone on a massive healing journey after that. But the huge, huge difference between me and someone, or my previous self, who was stuck in that, is that I took a deep breath and said, oh my goodness, there has to be a way. There has to be a way. I don't want to feel like this. And sometimes that's where it starts. You just start with a, hell no, this can't be my life. and don't give up. Because there are so many platforms now. Like, I love the fact that, social media, we can put a post on there. I'm in so many groups with amazing women and mums going, I'm really struggling with this. Does anyone know how to heal from this? Does anyone know someone who can help me? And it can be something as simple as, my doctor told me I had IBS. And it's like, well, okay, yes, okay, you've got IBS, but why? Why do you have IBS? Yep. So I'm really big on finding the cause to things, because our body has such an innate, it's so capable of healing itself. So it's, first of all, really getting into that mindset of, I actually know that my body can heal itself. What do I need to do to support that?
Beautiful.
So finding the right people, the right modalities, and, going back to PNI and even the breathwork side of things. So in PNI, what I have learned is diaphragmatic breathing, so relaxation therapy. And this is another tool that I teach people all the time. It's working with a therapist, and a lot of therapists, counsellors and psychs, actually put this into treatment plans, and this has been around for years, diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing and doing different types of breath work is the quickest and most effective way to manage chronic stress and anxiety. So I can share a million studies on why this should actually be tried before medication in many cases. So this is just as backed by science as what you get given over the counter. So why wouldn't you try this first? And it's free. You have your breath, you know, so people don't go and get help because they are financially strapped. This is something that you can learn and literally just do it for yourself every day. Wow. So when I was really struggling, I did a 6-week pain management course at a hospital with therapists and professors and exercise physiologists and everything. And I was actually really surprised doing that a lot of this course, the content was relaxation therapy, meditation, mindfulness, and gratitude. Because once again, backed by science, managing chronic pain, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual pain is not just give me the medication or it's doing exercises. Your breath and your mind is so powerful. So, recognizing how powerful you already are is an absolute game changer. So, diaphragmatic breathing, if you can find a therapist out there that teaches diaphragmatic breathing, all you need to do is 5 of these breaths twice a day, and it'll change your life.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Learning how to do it right.
Well, exactly. As you said, like find someone who is qualified and is a practitioner in that so that you can learn it. So as you were talking, I popped up the QR code to book in a free chat with you, but I also understand that you've got an offer for people who are listening today.
Absolutely. So anyone listening today, I have actually decided to offer a discount, a special offer off my Mind Gym for Mums program or any coaching package available that I actually have. And that really depends on who, what, why, when, where. You know, everybody gets a bespoke offer, but I do have some standard packages. My Mind Gym for Mums program is actually a 12-module program specifically for mums, and there are options to just download the program and do it in your own time. You get workbooks and videos, so you can work through that yourself, or you can actually have it with a few sessions or me running you through each of those modules as well. So I'm offering 15% off any of those for anyone who's watching today.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I'll leave that QR code up on the screen for everybody. So as we start to close our conversation, because really I think that we could probably sit here and talk for hours.
Talk forever.
You've made a comment to me before about your why, like my why, unlocking personal power and purpose. What are you referring to when you're talking about that?
Oh, I love that. Thank you for asking me that. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. I get goosebumps every time I think about it because, you know, my why, so there's a couple of ways to explain this. My first biggest why, and this relates to another reason I started niching in nurturing and supporting and mentoring mums, is that I think about myself and my journey and, wow, how incredible would it be for our next generations to come through, like I was sharing before, what kind of adult are our kids going to be if we as parents can sit with them and say, mummy or daddy or, you know, auntie or whoever, my body's telling me that I'm feeling XYZ. I need to do XYZ. So my body's telling me that I'm thirsty. I'm going to have a drink. Creating those neural pathways for our children. Imagine as adults, us walking around now feeling so broken and stressed. If we learned that stuff that young, what kind of conscious society are we raising? So that's one big thing. So for our next generations coming through, that's definitely a big why. But one of my biggest whys is that I absolutely get lit up inside by seeing women step into their power. Women have stood in the shadows for such a long time, and you know, we dive too deep into our masculine energy because we feel like we have to, but unfortunately we end up stuck in overdrive then, and all we end up being is burnt out, stressed, overwhelmed, disconnected, and unconscious, and no one wins, no one's happy, and that's when we manifest so many illnesses, and we just feel broken, and we never find that sense of freedom and fulfillment that is so available to us. And then all of a sudden we're 90 and it's like, oh my goodness, you know, where did my life go? You know, life is so fragile and so precious, and too many people move through life so unconsciously and just think, wow, what have I done? I'm just stressed and disconnected. And working with these amazing mums, seeing the shift from them when they first come to me, I had a client recently, one of my most beautiful clients who I'm still working with. Our first couple of sessions, she was just in tears the whole time, just in so much pain. And she's gone from that to actually like getting into business and finding her power and taking one of her kids overseas by herself, like just incredible. Like she's all of a sudden just showing up for herself going, I don't feel that constant anxiety in my body. So I also think about that, like, wow, what's the butterfly effect of that into our society? Because this world, especially after, you know, COVID and all the lockdowns and you know, what that brought out in people, you know, no matter what belief systems you have, when we're conscious and when we are healed, we are so much more capable of showing kindness and love and support for other people. So, yeah, the butterfly effect of that for people who are really struggling is my really deep why.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. So we've only got a couple more minutes left to go.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would love to ask you is something that I'm going to be asking all of my guests before we close.
Sure.
So what is your favorite quote and why do you love it so much? What does it mean to you?
So one of my favorite quotes is, we are not just raising our children, we're raising our inner child. And that really hit me in the heart. I heard it on a Maggie Dent podcast, actually. Love a bit of Maggie Dent for any of the mums out there. Highly recommend her. That really struck a chord with me because I know personally, and every single one of my clients, yet again, all my mums that I speak to, when you become a parent, whether you're the mother or the father, if you have unresolved childhood wounds, trauma, anything that you have been through that is unhealed, it comes up. It all comes up. And this comes up whether you're a parent or not, right? Even just getting into a relationship or certain friendships or a boss at work, they can trigger, you know, I've had bosses in the past that triggered a mum wound or a dad wound, or, you know, we've all got stuff, right? So recognizing that and healing that, I always say to my clients, if you sit with your kids and you know, especially when the kids are young, they're having big feelings about something, how do you deal with that? You'll say, sweetheart, I know, I can tell that you're feeling angry right now, you know, and you'll nurture them and support them through it. But what do you do for yourself?
Yeah.
You'll just get triggered and then beat yourself up about it and then, you know, go for the glass of wine or go for the vice or, you know, whatever you need to do to run away from your feelings.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why another one of my favorite sayings is, there is a big difference between sitting with your SHIT versus sitting with the resistance of it.
Resistance of it. You mentioned that in a meeting that we were in recently. So
exactly.
Yeah. It has been absolutely incredible to sit here and just to listen to all of the beautiful things that you do for mums and for yourself. And I feel really blessed that you are sharing all of this in the world. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart that I've just really loved this conversation with you today.
Thank you so much, Megan. You know, I think the absolute world of you. And, I was so honoured to be here. It's been the best chat. As you said, we could speak about this stuff for hours because we're so passionate about it. You get addicted to the journey after a while, don't you? Because it's just, something else has come up. Oh, what can I do about that? What do you know? And it's just beautiful. Yeah.
So, great. Yeah. And I hope that all of the everybody that's been listening has enjoyed the chat as much as I have, and that they've learned a lot of things. So until next week, I hope that you all have an amazing week, and I will see you for episode 2. Yay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.